All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, welcome to another Great Minds Drink Alike podcast. And if you've been with us before, you know I ask really brilliant, smart, cool people to join us so we can hear their stories, their strategies, and of course, so we can all have a drink. And so right along with that theme, I have got my good friend, David Rendall. I call him Dave. I'm going to have to ask him about that because I think, I don't know if David, some people get a little picky about that stuff, but he's the big pink guy. So if you've ever come to one of my events like boot camp this year, Producers Club, I know you've seen him on stage. He's always decked out in pink. So as we're letting people kind of get on, I know we're streaming this on YouTube and Facebook and all the interwebs and stuff like that. Go to the comment section. I'm looking at it right now. We're having a little bit of a technical problem with the plugin, so the replies aren't working, but you can post. So post where you are in this big, great world of ours. What are you drinking? What's going on? So do that. Make sure you find that subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe. You like us. Give us some love there on social media. That kind of helps with all the algorithms and whatnot. And so, maybe we'll show up higher ranked than the Johnny Depp trial, which will never happen, but a girl can wish, right? So so with that said, hey, I've got like I said, I've got Dave on here. I'll just read this quick bio. So Dave Rendall has spoken to audiences on every inhabited continent. Dude, you got to step it up. I mean, maybe go some, is there a continent that's not inhabited?
Penguins are not having a lot of conferences down in Antarctica, and it's cramping my style. They have a low budget after the pandemic. They don't have a lot of event budget.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, I think every continent, now that I read it, I'm like, every continent is inhabited. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so his clients are really cool people like the US Air Force, Australian government, Fortune 50 companies like Microsoft, AT&T, United Health Group, Fannie Mae, State Farm. But the coolest event he's ever spoken at is the TMT event. Okay, let's be very, very clear.
100%. That's 100% true.
It's true. It's true. And he is a certified speaking professional. Was a leadership professor. I see I'm drinking. Stand up.
That's part of the bit. You're supposed to slur your words a little bit or else it wouldn't seem right. Yeah, hit it. There we go. Prove it to him. There we go.
I am totally drinking right now. Okay. And I started early. Let me show you something. Look at this bottle. It's near empty. Okay. It's near empty. Stand-up comedian, nonprofit executive. Oh, and Mike's on too. See, I'm really good at this. See, when I drink, I've got it all together. Dave's going to completely criticize me for.
That's actually the best introduction I've had on here. So we're stepping it up. Yeah.
Oh, and Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Mike's on. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
I'll take it.
I'm not even done reading your bio, but you know what? Tomorrow I am being interviewed by Dr. Nito Cobain, president of High Point University at the National Speakers Association. And look at the shit show I'm doing right here. I can't even read an intro. All right. American dream, people. All right. You can be uneducated, unable to speak. I mean, I'm only fluent in swear words and sarcasm, and you'll find out by the end of this which one I'm really fluent in. And between presentations, you don't run ultramarathons, do you? And Ironman, triathlons, because that's what it says on the bio.
Wow, that's hurtful, Dave.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Wow.
She's met you. You obviously do not do that.
That's a lie. That's a clear lie.
Wait a minute. It says in between presentations. I'm calling bullshit because I don't think you're going to jump up off this presentation, go run an Ironman. All right.
There's a lot more time than the 7 minutes after a presentation. There's sometimes a gap, a few days.
Sure.
Yeah. Dave only speaks twice a year. So yeah, he's got about 180 days.
I do a big one in March and then a big one in October. And between that, it's all exercise.
Yeah. Right. Only on continents that have people living on it, inhabited. Right. Okay. And he has 4 books so far, maybe more coming. In between, he's very busy with these ultra marathons, but in between that, so he's got the 4 factors of effective leadership, the freak factor for kids, and pink goldfish. And I think you got a new one coming out we'll ask you about that. Anyway, I think you got a new one coming out. Let me just say that. Okay. So And what are you drinking? Because I'm drinking Turley, which is look at this, it's empty. Which is like a Zinfandel. It's actually really good. What are you drinking?
I went out special, a little pink drink from Starbucks, right on the nose, on brand.
Well, cheers, my
Keeping
friend.
it
Mike,
strong.
what are you
Cheers.
drinking?
So I got some gas station wine because I kind of forgot about this, and it is a high-end peach wine.
High-end peach.
Yeah, it's called Love Olivia. So
Went down to Georgia, got some peach alcohol.
Yeah,
You're gonna
it
get
was.
your period after drinking that shit. I don't even know what that
So,
is.
yeah, no, it's lovely. The
Yeah.
the
All right.
bouquet on it, yeah, it smells like
It's-
sugar.
He can also use it as fuel for his vehicle.
Hey, it works. It gets rid of rashes. Crossing my fingers, anyways. So
Oh, Lord. Okay. What are we doing? All right. Oh, okay, Dave. All right. So, no, like on a serious, like so I met you, well, I guess a year or so ago. We had you come and speak at our Producers Club meeting. I have had you MC boot camp. We did a speaker training, and this is to be real. This for real. You did that speaker training. It was like was it last July? You did that speaker training or something like that, right? And my MSP clients raved about it. They came to me and over again said that was like literally the best training they've ever been, which was kind of hurtful, saying that to me, but yeah. So we've extricated, we fired those clients.
I'll work on those testimonials next time. I'll try to set those up a little better next time.
Yeah, no, but they said it was really good. And your presentation at our boot camp or Producers Club event, which was all about the freak factor stuff. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a great presentation, and I think that's one of the keynotes that you deliver. It's just so well done. I mean, there's two ways when you do a presentation. The way I look at it is, I look at it. There's the content, which is whatever it is you're talking about. But I also kind of like, from my viewpoint, I always look at like, what is he doing and why is he using that story and how is he using humor and how is he building the examples and stuff like that. And you're really amazing at it. You're very good. We actually have you coach our Better Your Best finalists at boot camp when they come in and whatnot. So no, I mean, it's just phenomenal. But so Dave, like, what would you say? I'm just kind of curious, like, because you do all these things, you do coaching, you're speaking, you write, you do ultra marathons. I mean, what would you like if someone said, what do you do? Like you meet somebody at a cocktail party and they say, what do you do? I mean, what is your answer to that?
Yeah, I'm a professional speaker. I mean, that's what I would tell them. And then they would say, oh, a motivational speaker. And I'd say, sure, because I don't want to have that discussion. So yeah, I mean, that's what I do. I thought I'd clear a few things up from the introduction. Number one, Dave is fine. David, I'm not one of those people who gets picky about that. There's people who are, but that's not me. Fun small world fact. I taught at a little college called Mount Olive College in Mount Olive, North Carolina. And that's where Nito Cobain went to college for 2 years when it was a junior college and only had 2 years. I didn't teach him, obviously, we're at different times, but he's still a huge sensation there. And everybody, it's a very small school. They focus now primarily on adult education. And they do have a 4-year school now. And they're a university now. I think they have some master's degrees now. But he's still a sensation, and he's only 2 hours down the road in High Point. So a little small world there. I'm always in MC mode. So when you're introducing me, you're like, I have really cool people on, only the best rock stars. And I thought a perfect bit, you can use it on the next person was, but not this week, right? So whoever, I thought that's where you're going. I thought you were just setting it up hard, and I thought she's about to just destroy me, but we couldn't find any of those people. So we got Dave.
I had Dave instead.
And also
God,
Mike.
it was in this head, and I'm like, oh, do I be hurtful? Because sometimes, I'm dead serious. Sometimes people think that, like, when you say things like that, I'll get an email later. It'll be like, why are you being such a bitch? And I mean, or just whatever. So
I was ready.
I'll stop emailing.
So.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I just got yelled at by, if Charles Swihart's out there watching this, I just got yelled at. He said, he doesn't call like what I do coaching. He calls what I do bitching. He's like, after you got done bitching at me for like an hour 2 weeks ago, he's like, I finally got a fire under my ass and I've closed 3 deals. I'm like, okay, good. All right. So,
well, I think there's two kinds of people. I mean, with personal training, with any kind of coaching, with leadership in general, I think there's two kinds of people. There's people who like they want their personal trainer to sort of tell them they're good enough and give them a hug and tell them they're fine and not push them too hard. And then other people, that's exactly why they hire that person. They're like, if you're not screaming at me, then I'm going to sit around on the couch. If you're not yelling at me, I'm going to quit early. And I think people, that's the beauty of it. People say this is the right way, this is the wrong way. I think people have to find that person who does the things that they need, right? And that's part of the freak factor, right? Is it something somebody thinks is terrible, somebody else is like, no, that's what I need, that's what I'm signed up for.
Exactly. Yeah, it reminds me, there was a guy, and I tell this story a lot. It was a guy, and I can't remember who it was. But it happened years ago. And guy comes up to me after an event, and he said, you know, Robin, if I wanted a woman to point out all my failings, where I'm not good enough, where I'm falling short, you know, I could have done that. I could have stayed at home, and my wife would have done that for me for free, right? And so, you know, I get it, and you're right. I mean, everybody has to have their own approach and as a coach. And I think everybody has to find somebody that they feel comfortable with coaching them,
Yeah.
you know, and my philosophy and my standpoint is as a coach, you're paying me to be tough on you. You're not paying me to be your friend. To, you know, now every once in a while, yeah, client needs a little break. They need a hug. They need encouragement. I'm not above that. I'm not saying kick their ass all the time. But if I feel like somebody is dragging and they're not doing what they could be doing, you know, yeah, I'm going to lay into them because that's what it is, you know. But and then, yeah, if you don't want that, if you want somebody who's going to say, hey, it'll be all right, let's go get a drink and let's go chill out, let's go on vacation, you know, you should take the weekend off. Like,
right, do less. Not only am I not going to push you, let's just forget about it and decide it's fine. I mean, I think about it in terms of, you know, people get on Mike Krzyzewski, the coach of the Duke Blue Devils, you know, for yelling and swearing and screaming at people and getting in their face and maybe even getting a tiny bit physical. Those are the best players in the country, the best players in the world. They could have gone anywhere. They went there because they knew that maybe they wouldn't work as hard if somebody wasn't pushing them to the brink, if somebody wasn't screaming at them, if somebody wasn't challenging them, and if somebody was giving them a free pass. And so I think there's something to be said for that because we get to make those decisions. Nobody, at least as far as I know, nobody's forced to go to your program, right? So if somebody's like, that's not me, then there's other people out there. So I think that's what we got to look for is find the fit between who we are and what other people need.
Yeah. And that's why I have Mike, because Mike's the nice guy out of us. You know, he's the one that'll, like, you know, be nice.
Is Mike on this call? Did we have,
yeah.
Is he?
He's drinking the pink.
Yeah. I've got my Mount Love Olivia wine.
Yeah.
So
It's grown in Tennessee.
Yep. Yeah. I hope. I think it's in a bathtub in Tennessee. Yeah.
Inflation, right? It hits your alcohol budget pretty hard there.
Well, this was now cheaper than gas, so yeah. We're good.
Yeah.
And has mostly the same properties.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, all right. So, you know, one thing I want to ask you, because, you know, there's a lot of people watching this, they might not know who you are. I know that's amazing and hurtful. But, you know, there's probably like a couple people out there who never heard of you. So I want you to talk about, because you talk about the freak factor, and that was the talk that you gave at our producers club meeting. And what was really funny is at the end of that, you're like, hey, I'm going to give my stage presentation to show you what a good presentation is. And then we were talking to them also at that same time about how do you know, about delivering a presentation like that. So it was like the two lenses, and nobody wanted to talk about how to deliver a presentation. They were just like asking you about the freak factor and your viewpoint. Yeah. So just for those who don't know who you are, talk a little bit about what is this freak factor thing, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, you asked who I was and I said professional speaker, and that's the part of the story, right? I was in trouble my whole life because I couldn't sit still, be quiet, and do what I was told. I was in trouble with my teachers. I was in trouble with my parents, eventually in trouble with employers. And everybody's message was, you've got to dial that back if you want to be successful. And we all hear this in business. We hear this in the work that we do. We hear this from family members and friends who are genuinely usually trying to help. They have the right intentions, but the message is like, you're great, just dial it back a little bit, like moderate, reduce, eliminate these characteristics, and then, you know, be just the right amount of these things. And so for me, it was always, You don't need to be talking so much. You don't need to be talking so loud. You don't need to be so excited about things. You don't need to dominate conversations. You just need to learn to sit still, be quiet, and do what you're told. And now I'm a professional speaker who gets paid to stand up, paid to talk, and paid to run my own business, not to do what somebody else is telling me to do. And so I learned that my weaknesses were strengths, that all these things that people thought were bad about me were actually good things. And then I started amplifying them, turning up the volume on them instead of trying to turn them down. And that's what I teach other people to do, that with your kids, with your spouse or your partner, with yourself, even with your business. That's pink goldfish, is company weaknesses can be strengths. Like we just talked about. Oh, that lady's too pushy. Somebody else. That's exactly what I need. I need a push. Right. I was at an event one time and this woman had this kind of close cut gray hair, and she was in her mid 50s and she was starting a consulting business. And her son told her, if you're going to start a consulting business, you got to dye that hair. That's not going to work. Nobody wants to do business with an old lady. And she sort of had the ultimate freak factor comeback. She said, I'm selling gray hair, right? I'm selling my experience. I'm selling the work that I've done. I'm selling my background. I'm not trying to look younger. I'm selling the fact that I am older, right? And so that's what we're talking about with the freak factor. And it resonates with people because it changes the way you deal with your kids. It changes your relationships at home. It changes the kind of work you look for yourself. I just got a nice gift from somebody the other day. But it's somebody I don't know that well. And so I sent them a message. I was like, where did that come from? And they're like, well, I saw your presentation 5 years ago. I started turning up the volume on the things that everybody told me to turn the volume down on. And now I'm running this coaching business and everything's going great. And I just wanted you to know you had a huge impact, on a 1 hour webinar. So it's a message that really resonates with people. And the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I get to do the thing that people spent their whole life telling me not to do. And now I make a living doing that. And I want other people to have that fulfillment, that freedom, the happiness that comes along with that.
Yeah, it's like you're giving them permission to be themselves, and
Yep.
that's the thing. I think I wrote about this once in an article in my newsletter, and I said that, with kids in particular, the most dangerous thing is the need to be liked and the need to fit in, because kids become less of who they are, or they turn bad because they get in a crowd that wants to, like an individual kid, young guy might not do, set fire to a building, but you get 5 teenagers together and, all of a sudden they're going crazy and they're just starting to do what everyone else is doing. And it can really lead you down the wrong path. So I think that's why your message resonated so much with our members, is again, you're giving them permission to be different, to not fit in, and not only not just be different, but use that as your strength. So can you give an example? I don't know. I know you're giving an example for yourself and the lady with the gray hair. I mean, do you have any examples like from our members? It doesn't have to be, but just.
No,
curious.
yeah. I was on Facebook just a couple of months ago and I saw Mike Bazaar post about this, and it was really cool. He's like, we've got this guy and he does really well. In fact, I'll just pull it up while I'm thinking about it, but I'll tell you one other story from him at the same time. So he said, look, we have this guy and he's a little pushy. And so we tried to stop him from being pushy, and that didn't work. And he's a really good guy. And so now we put him on projects where being pushy is a plus, right? Mm-hmm. And even pushy is just a negative term, right? You don't have to call it pushy. You can call it assertive. So right. That's part of the idea of the freak factor, is that every so-called weakness is actually just a negative way to look at a characteristic that's actually positive. So another one from Mike Bazaar, and I'll just read it directly because it's so good. He said, one of our engineers can solve any problem you put in front of him. He's amazing. But, and this is where it always goes, right? But he tends to ignore everything else while he's working on the issue, right? Hyper-focus, right? Hyper-focus. Now, meanwhile, we criticize other people for being too distractible. Right. So then that's the other thing that's a catch-22 about the freak factor. No matter what you do, someone's got a problem with it, right? Robin's not pushy enough. Robin's too pushy. There's no, anyway. But he said, so instead of trying to fix him, which is what most employers do, what most businesses try to do, what we do in relationships, he said, instead of trying to fix him, we're finding ways to let him use that superpower to tackle bigger and more involved problems, and then shielding him from interruptions. So not only do we call that alignment, we help him find alignment, but we also help him stay away from, and things that don't fit. And we struggle with that business. Oh, sure, I want to help people find their strengths and do things that they're good at. But I mean, this is just the job and you just have to do certain things. And I just can't let you not do that. And so now they deliberately gave him something where hyper focus is valued, and they allow him to stay away from situations where he would be interrupted, instead of saying, we really like you, but, and then you make this whole big deal. In fact, a lot of times people get fired for that. We just can't deal with someone like this, and the job just requires you to handle interruptions. So that's a great example of, and Mike does it with his business too, right? It's bizarre solutions, it's BS, right? And so then he's got these stickers, about BS, which again, most people would, pull away from. Oh, I don't want to have that negative connotation. Some people are going to think that's inappropriate. I don't want to do that. And he really leans into that, and that makes his business very memorable and very attractive. So that's a good example of it being done on an organizational level, and then also being done, with the way you manage people.
Yeah. When you said that, one of the things I talk about, like what we teach is direct response marketing, but to kind of put my own spin on it, I call it educational direct response, because in my world, if you're really good at what you do, an educated prospect is your best customer, because someone who knows what good IT is, they're educated, they understand the value of it, they understand what to look for in a good IT provider or whatever. Yeah. They should be easier to close. So we call it educational direct response. And Mike, you'll think this, I was working with Dave D, and he shortened it to EDR. And I just when I looked at that, I was like, erectile dysfunction, immediately. And I'm like,
I'm selling ED.
Something to it. Maybe erectile dysfunction marketing, well, you can't get your marketing up. I don't know. Just maybe I'm drinking. This is a bad idea.
I'll work on it.
I used to help with the Chamber of Commerce in a little city in Wisconsin, and the executive director just insisted on calling herself the ED and putting ED on everything. And I was just like, I don't know if she's seen the commercial with Bob Dole. I don't think if she knows what's happening here, but she just insists. She just loved that acronym, and she just stuck with it no matter what.
All right. Well, Mike, what do you think about that? Good, bad?
I don't know even what to say to that, quite honestly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll just keep
it hits too close to home, Robin.
All right.
So yeah.
All right.
Well, Mike's saying he's the president and he's a client.
Also a client. I was also an executive director. Yeah. So.
Exactly. So tell me this, what's up with the pink? Where did the pink all come from?
Yeah. So I have 3 daughters and no sons, and even the dog's a girl. I am married to a woman, and the dog's also a Bichon Frise. So even if it wasn't a girl, it's a girl, right? Yeah. And you're a girl when you
identify as a girl.
Yeah. Even the boy dogs identify as girl dogs. Yeah. So basically, and a lot of my early work was in human services, social services. My undergraduate and master's were in counseling psychology. So I started the world in nonprofits and social services. And so speaking and working was almost always me and a lot of ladies. Some of the classes I would teach, I was the only man in the room. A lot of the speeches I did, same thing. And so, in fact, the first talk I ever did was to a group of moms and grandmas about parenting. And I wasn't a parent, and I was the only man in the room. So I knew my credibility was, just sky high when that presentation started. And so I basically started telling these jokes about how I'm not a woman, but I'm getting closer, right? How I'm not a woman, but I'm actually moving very, very close. And in fact, maybe on the other side of, halfway there. And so it just was a fun way to connect with people. And that's one of the things you need to do in speaking, right? If you're completely unrelatable, right? You have to look for ways to bridge the gap. That was one of my favorite things from Nito's book. My coworker, again, she was a huge fan. She'd been there for like 30 years. She may have been there actually when he was. And she gave me a copy of his book. And one of the things he said in there is that the biggest mistake most speakers make is that they put themselves up here as basically perfect and entirely competent and flawless and amazing. And instead of connecting them to the audience, that actually causes most people to go, oh, so I could never be like that. So none of what this person says is relevant to me, and they tune out. And so he talked about the importance of being self-deprecating, admitting failures, talking about challenges, admitting the lack of perfection, which is my whole message, that weaknesses can be positive, but very specifically in this. And so that really helped me with my whole presentation, because I was telling certain stories about like being passed by a pregnant lady in a marathon, and people loved it, but I didn't know why it was working so well. And then I read his book and I'm like, oh, it's because it takes, okay, Dave's done all these things. And like, especially as a teacher, I'm up here educationally and I'm helping people who are trying to get to a certain level. And it makes me more normal. It makes me more relatable. It makes me able to connect with people. So I started telling more of those stories, but the turning into a woman stories just turned into this thing. People loved it. They thought they were hilarious. And so when I had to pick something to be different, I started wearing some pink shoes just to kind of embrace my womanhood. And people will be like, pink isn't a woman's color. And you're like, look, when the gender reveal parties change, let me know. But when people see pink, they think women. It doesn't mean women only wear pink or anything like that, but that's the color we associate. And so I started wearing some pink shoes, and that was a big hit. And people would stop and talk to me about it. Then I started with some pink socks. Then I added pink pants. And now you've seen the full-on pink suit. I have pink tattoos, so no one can ever say I'm not wearing pink. My wedding ring's pink. So it just turned into a thing where if I post something, I finished my first Ironman, which I didn't do, obviously, because you told me earlier that I didn't. But when I did an Ironman that I wasn't doing between presentations.
I'm just saying you didn't do it in between speaking. That it was like it was written. It was in between speaking or something like that. I'm like, I don't know that you're. Yeah.
But I was just wearing like regular.
In between presentations.
Yeah, in between presentations.
Yeah. Anyway, you were saying. So anyway,
when I finished my first Ironman, some people were like, "Good job," and other people were like, "You're not wearing pink." You know, like that was their initial response to it. So it's just become a way that people remember me. I've had people hire me saying they asked their staff and they're like, hire the pink pants guy. So now the answer is, because it causes people to do what you just did, which is ask me, what's the deal with the pink, right? And again, you know this as an entrepreneur, isn't it nice to have people coming up to you to ask you what you're up to instead of you having to chase them and try to tell them what you're up to, right? So it's just an attractor. I mean, it's a conversation starter. It's also, makes things more memorable. People, I tell people there's a lot of people who look like me who do what I do. And pink is a way to stand out from a whole series of people like me who cross stages at conferences all over the country. And people go, I remember that pink, because they're certainly not going to remember Dave or Mike. Those aren't names that just boom, really stick in your head. And so it's a way to stand out, and it's a way to get people's attention.
Yeah, it's funny because they won't remember your name. You're right, but they'll remember you were all dressed in pink.
Yep.
So. How about the breast awareness, the breast cancer people, are they coming after you for stealing their color? Because, they kind of own that.
First of all, I am not enough of a woman. I still do promote breast awareness. I'm still a big fan. That is something that I am a big fan of. The breast cancer awareness people, actually,
big
I
fan
think
of
they thought, in my nonprofit days, I taught a session on persuasion. And I saw a really cool billboard one time that was a great example of something I wanted to teach. And it was from the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. And I was driving to the airport in Chicago, and it was basically just a woman from here to here in a t-shirt. And it said, we only care about one thing, or depending on how you look at it, maybe two. And the whole goal was to get men to care more about breast cancer and not think of it as somebody else's problem. Basically, the message was, if you like these, you care about what we do. Mm-hmm. And so it was an amazing, quick, simple advertisement that also acknowledged what's really going on. People are going to look at a billboard with breasts on it. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't get a picture of it, and this was before cell phone cameras. And so I contacted them on the phone, and I was like, hey, my name is Dave, and I want your breast billboard. And they were not having it, right? I think pretty soon I was talking to Susan G. Komen's sister, who started the thing by the end. And I had to go through the whole thing. And finally they were willing to send me the image. But yes, I do. In October, I've dyed my hair pink. I donate to breast cancer awareness causes. It's another huge connection. It's in the book, Pink Goldfish, because it's also a great way that they've turned a color into when you put pink cleats on an NFL football player, people see that in ways that they don't, because it's incongruous. It doesn't fit your image of what should be happening. So we talk about them in Pink Goldfish, how they've basically taken a whole color and changed people's minds about what it means. And people will ask me that all the time, even when it's in April. They're like, is that for Breast Cancer Awareness Month? And you're like, well, if you knew how months worked, then you'd know it wasn't, but later it will be,
Exactly right. Okay, cool. So tell me about, you've got this, so it's like this, you got a new book. So you got the Pink Goldfish 2.0, right?
Yeah.
Which is, when did that come out?
That came out last summer. So we put out Pink Goldfish a couple years ago. Then during the pandemic, we just added a ton to it, added a bunch of new stories and examples, added some new features to it. And then we did a book tour last summer. We did about 11,000 miles traveling around the country in my completely wrapped pink Honda Pilot, talking to people about Pink Goldfish.
Okay. Give me a quick summary. What's that
Yeah.
about?
That's just the freak factor for marketing and strategy, right? So your business has weaknesses that are also strengths. So one of my favorite examples is Buckley's cough syrup. They're a Canadian cough syrup company. This is good for your show because I know I can swear on your show. So Buckley's tastes so bad that when I was doing the presentation one time, there was a Canadian guy in the audience. It was a small group of like 20 people, but he came in later. I put Buckley's up on a slide and he just shouts out, like it's not discussion, interaction time. He just shouts out, that stuff tastes like shit. Like he had like PTSD from how bad Buckley's tastes.
And it's a Canadian. So when a Canadian interrupts, without.
Yeah. So it tastes terrible, so much so that people have like bad memories from it. So if you're trying to expand into the American market from Canada, you're going to make it taste better. You're going to new and improved. You're going to cherry flavor, bubblegum flavor. You're going to completely reformulate it. You got to do something to fix it. And what they did was they flaunted it. And that's what we talk about in Pink Goldfish. It means to parade without shame, to be unapologetic about who you are, right? And so what they did is they made these commercials, these fake blind taste tests, where someone would try some Buckley's, and then they would try like trash bag leakage, is what it would say. And the person would always prefer the trash bag leakage or the sweaty gym socks or whatever it was. And their message was, if you think it tastes bad, it tastes even worse than you can possibly imagine, right? And we're not trying to fix it. And basically, it's kind of the no pain, no gain. They're like, people swear by it and at it. It tastes awful and it works. And their basic message was it works because it tastes awful. And they were able to increase their market share by 550% from 2% to 11% of the market by basically selling how bad it tastes unapologetically, unashamedly. And so that's one of the keystone stories in there. But once you start looking for them, they're everywhere. I mean, there's a guy on TikTok who's the #1 with followers on TikTok. He has more followers than anybody else on TikTok. It's a dancing and a singing app and probably a little bit of flashing things and other kind of app. And all this guy does is sit there quietly and make silly faces while people do stuff from other videos. He's the #1. There was a lady on America's Got Talent. I'm always sending these to my co-author, Stan. This lady on America's Got Talent the other day, she took nasty comments that people posted after her America's Got Talent music, and she took the nasty comments and turned them into a song and sang it as her bit on America's Got Talent, right? That's an example of being unashamed. Like people are telling her, you're trash and you need to fix it. And she's like, I'm awesome. And I'm going to take your words and turn it into another song that you hate. Right. And so that's what it's like you said earlier about having permission. So I want to give people permission in their business to also say, we don't serve those people. We don't do that. We don't care about making those kind of people happy. We don't offer that kind of service. We don't work in that region. We don't have that kind of expertise. We call that withholding. Another great example is Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. You would love this. They'll bring you food and alcohol while you watch a movie, and they were started in Austin, but they have rules: no talking, no texting, no coming late. If you come late, they don't even let you in. But if you talk or text, they give you one warning, then they kick you out. and they take it seriously. If you're under 18, you can't go to the movies at all unless you're accompanied by an adult. If you're 15 to 17, you have to take a class and pass a test if you want to go to the movies, right? These people are serious about their movies. So this lady goes in Texas, she talks and texts, they give her a warning, she doesn't listen, they kick her out. She leaves a nasty voicemail. And what do most companies do when somebody leaves a complaint voicemail? That, do you want a coupon? Can we offer you a free one? We're so sorry. Please don't post this on the internet. What can we do to make you happy? That's not what they did. They asked their lawyers, can we use this? Their lawyer said, yes, you can, because she knew she was being recorded. They took her voicemail, they transcribed it, and then they played it as a public service announcement at the beginning of the movie and said, we will kick you out too if you do what this lady did. We're serious, right? So like at the end, she's like, so thanks for treating me. And they're like, you're welcome. Thanks for not coming back to the Alamo. They also put it on YouTube to further antagonize her. And got more than 1 million hits of people listening to her voicemail and watching what she said. So people love to say the customer's always right. Alamo Drafthouse proves they're not. And it's okay to say we're not here to be the movie theater for people who don't know how to handle themselves in the movies. If you want to do whatever you want, go to most movie theaters. If you want a different experience, come with us, right? Yeah. So Pink Goldfish is giving people permission to say, this is my business. I want to do it my way, and I don't have to serve everybody, and everybody isn't right. I can do what I want.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the same thing when I teach niche marketing, and I say, you got to be for someone. And you're right. Everybody tries to appeal to everybody, appease everybody. I don't want to say we only serve CPAs on my website because, if we do that, then everybody who's not a CPA won't do business with me, which is not the reality. And they try to just fit in and be plain vanilla. And the thing I'm always trying to tell them is actually, if you are for someone, like a small group, let's say a small subset, you actually get more leads and more sales because you're for someone versus being this plain vanilla, whatever. I don't know.
Well, and that's the tough lesson. You have to be for someone. And the best way to attract some people is to repel other people. Because one of the threats this lady made in her voicemail was, I'm going to tell everyone. And what I tell my audience is that's perfect. Because when she's telling everyone how terrible you are, what actually probably 50% or more of people are hearing is how amazing you are. Oh, lunatics like you who don't know how to behave aren't at that theater. I'd love to know the name and address, right? So when she's bashing the company, she's actually praising the company and she doesn't realize it. So I think that's part of what we're saying in there is, like you said, everybody knows they're supposed to have at least a target market. But that means there's somebody who's not only not your target market, but that you shouldn't or don't want to be working with. Very few have the confidence or courage to actually push away the wrong people. But when you do, it's very attractive to the right people. A Planet Fitness does it. They say, basically, if you're ripped and you're fit and you lift heavy weights and make noise, we don't want you. Basically, if you're fit, we don't want you at Planet Fitness. And then CrossFit goes in the completely opposite direction. They're like, we'll take anybody. We're sweating. We're on the floor. We're doing whatever needs to be done. It's hot. It's difficult. It's painful. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be clean. It's not supposed to be quiet. And we're not worried about whether we hurt your feelings. We want it. We want to push you. We want you to be better. And better isn't whatever you are right now, or you wouldn't be there. And so those are two opposites we talk about in there. Planet Fitness has a market. CrossFit has a market. In fact, CrossFitters call Planet Fitness Planet Fitless. But in Planet Fitness, in their commercials, they make fun of fit people. They repel fit people in their commercials, and they attract a different kind of person who wants an environment that doesn't make them feel bad about whatever spot they're at now. And again, that's fine, but that's not everybody. Some people know I'm never going to change unless there's people pushing me to be better, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you just said something. I think that's the big fear everybody has is like, oh, I'm going to get a bad review. Oh, someone's going to, and there are people who really, when they get burned, they will, or they feel like they're getting burned or, dismissed or whatever, they will try to wear you out on social media, and they will try to burn you up and all the rest of it. And I think, like you said, it just takes confidence in, we're doing the right thing, and we've got to repel people. I mean, we just, like, you see Hey Hey, do you know who Hey Hey is?
No.
No? Okay. And his batteries are dead. I meant it like it's like a kid's toy. So like when they put batteries in, you know how they put them with screws. So like people like me won't eat them, the batteries, you know, whatever. So he's like, and usually like, see, like his batteries are,
He's trying. He wants to.
yeah, well, basically this is from the movie Moana. And he's just like a dumb chicken. He's constantly follows around. She's trying to get rid of him. He constantly follows around, gets in trouble, gets in the way. He's just, he's a dumb cluck is what he is, right? And so I just wrote about it in my, and I have him here. He usually sits over there. For some reason, I put him here. I was talking about him today. It's a reminder that, you know what? One dumb cluck in your office is enough, more than enough, and I've already got one. So you got a client, you got an employee, you got somebody who's a dumb cluck who's really messing up your day and screwing you up, causing you anxiety. Doesn't, and it's just, it could be even a client or somebody who just doesn't fit in with your DNA,
Right. It doesn't have to be bad. It's just not the right spot. It's not the right fit.
Exactly. Right. So
well, let's talk about social media a little bit, because you brought that up and I think that's a good one. So let me give you a couple of fun examples. So first of all, there's an MSP that I know from before I even knew about MSPs, from meeting you, where I did the pink goldfish presentation and I asked people in the audience, have you done any of this, or do you have any examples of doing this? And the one that the guy does is they basically take all of their customer feedback that they collect constantly, and they have it run down the left side of their website. Good, bad, they don't filter it, they don't manage it, they don't do anything with it. It's just a live ticker of what people are saying about them on social media and using their own feedback gathering tool. And they feel like if they're transparent about what's happening, we call that exposing the book. People are so afraid to put it out there. They want to manage it. They want to, then everybody does it and then we know everything's fake. So that's one way to handle it. Another example on social media is Snowbird in Utah. They're a ski resort. They took their 1-star reviews online and they turned them into advertisements, and they took out 2-page spreads in ski magazines. And that's all that was on there. 1 star, with next to 4 empty stars, and then a picture of something happening at the resort, and then the person's review without an explanation or anything. So it'd say things like, too advanced. We felt like we were taking our lives into our hands. No easy runs. But what they know is their customer doesn't want easy runs. They've got powder too deep. There's no such thing as powder that's too deep. They're out there to take their life in their hands. That's exactly the point of it. And so all they did was take those 1-star reviews, and not only were they not afraid or ashamed of them, they turned them into advertisements. And then there's one other example of this company called Bado Bistro, where this guy was tired of getting what he thought was fake bad reviews, and felt like Yelp was trying to extort him. So his goal became to be the lowest rated restaurant on Yelp. And he started offering discounts on pizza if people would give him a 1-star review. And he actually succeeded not only in becoming the lowest rated restaurant on Yelp, but he sold more pizzas in a day than he normally sold in a month. And he actually started to destroy Yelp as an organization. Their company has done nothing but decline since he started doing battle with them, because he started drawing attention to some of their questionable practices. Yeah. So those are 3 examples of where you don't have to be afraid of that stuff. You can actually use it to your advantage. And again, the right kind of customer. Too expensive, too much stuff I don't need, all these, fine. But there's other people who want to pay more, who want everything offered, who want it all in a monthly package, all these kinds of things. There's a way to sell that by telling people what you don't do.
Yeah, set a standard, stick with it, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I hope you're taking notes. Is there anything we can do with some of those shitty reviews we got on Yelp? Because we got some really bad ones on Yelp.
Well, I just emailed our list asking for shitty reviews.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That's what I took away from David. So
yeah.
No, I'll tell you one way you can use it is just post it. It's a great way to get attention. Just put it right out there, because again, it's transparency. So some people, but it's also an attention getter. Nobody looks at that and goes, oh, they're just bragging. They look at that and go, why would somebody post that? So for example, somebody gave me a 2-star review, like on my children's book or something. Now, a lot of people will say the kids' book like changed their kid's life.
It is. It's
and
fantastic.
So when I put the 2-star review on social media, people just went nuts. People started posting positive reviews to counteract it. But people also started just posting hilarious things, and it drew a bunch of attention back to the book because it caused a reaction in a way that if you post a 5-star review, people hardly pay attention because of course you're going to do that sort of thing. So that's one way to do it, especially if you do it strategically. If you know there's a profile of people that just don't fit with what you're doing, they don't like it, they won't like it. It's not bad, it's just different. Then, like you said, no easy runs, powder too deep. So if you can see, I would encourage you to go through it. And if you find some patterns of people who don't like basically exactly what you're selling, they push too hard, they want you to do too much, it required too much change, I wasn't ready to make those adjustments, and they weren't just telling me I was good enough, they weren't encouraging enough and telling me I was already where I wanted to be, they were mean basically in pushing me to be better. A lot of people are going to go, oh, that's what I'm signing up for. Again, I don't want a personal trainer that gives me a hug. I want a personal trainer who threatens me if I don't do 3 more push-ups, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you can find a pattern in there that you see as the opposite of the people you're trying to attract, it's just a great way to get people's attention. And it is so uncommon. I mean, Nebraska, after 4 years of being the 50th state in America in tourism out of 50 states, they came up with a new campaign called Honestly, Nebraska is not for everyone, right? And people were talking about it in Australia. Stephen Colbert was talking about it on the Late Show. He spent his whole monologue talking about Nebraska's tourism slogan. Nobody even knows their own state's tourism slogan. But by saying, we're not for everyone, we're not perfect, we're not New York, we're not even Colorado, they had people going, well, am I one of those people? Well, don't tell me where I can go. And they saw this massive increase in interest in visitor guides and website visits and tourism. I mean, Stephen Colbert goes, he ended his monologue, he leans in real close, he goes, Nebraska, are you okay? And they tweeted online, they said, no, we're not okay, that's Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So when you're going back and forth with Stephen Colbert on Twitter, you're doing something right in your little state tourism board. But again, they did it by acknowledging we're not perfect. And people are hungry to hear that because we live in a world where everybody pretends to be
the best,
individuals and organizations. So people don't believe anything because everybody's like, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. And so nobody knows what to pay attention to. So you stand out when you're like, well, we're not.
Yeah,
we're not.
Well, in copy, because I'm a copywriter, so a copy, like a sales copywriter, where I write marketing, influential marketing pieces, whether it's a script, a sales letter, a website, so forth. And one of the principles, really, if you're an advanced copywriter, one of the things that you know to do is it's admission of a flaw. And so because it elevates the truth of everything else. So like years ago, I had a friend. And this is when I was like a budding, copywriter, learning stuff. And so she had a family Italian restaurant, and they had great food, because I used to teach aerobics like 7 days a week. And so after class, twice a week, I'd go over right from the gym to her restaurant, sit at the bar, and they'd make me whatever, bring it. It was fantastic, but it wasn't fancy, right? And like the chairs were kind of beat up a little bit, and they were different chairs, and the tablecloths were these checkered, like not perfect, not kind of not plastic, but just it was very homey, if you will, right? Yeah. And I remember her just complaining. She hated Olive Garden, like hated it. She's like, it's microwave friggin' shit and she's right, you know what I mean? Like she just she would complain. And I said, you really ought to advertise that if you're looking for, a
real
plastic, dinner out, they go to Olive Garden. But if you're looking for from scratch, a homemade Italian because she was Italian, her mother, family was Italian, generation, where we've got, real tablecloths, and the chairs aren't perfect. It's like eating at your grandma's kitchen, Italian grandmother's kitchen.
And that's a great example. Your grandma had mismatched chairs. Your grandma had a tablecloth with stains on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the crochet doilies and the Jesus, the plastic, and all that. Like, if that's what you want, then this is where you want to be. And she thought that was the craziest idea, but I think it is, like with our program, I mean, I just spoke on stage at an event, and I was selling, and I said to guys, I said, right from the stage, I said, look, if you are not interested in being a real entrepreneur, and I don't mean that to be hurtful, I'm saying like, if you're not growth minded, you don't want to scale your business, you don't want to put the work in to really learn marketing, put a marketing plan in your place, because this is going to be difficult. It's going to be overwhelming. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a couple of years to get this right. I don't have a quick hack. I mean, we have a couple of tricks here and there, but this is not a bag of magic beans. It's going to take work. It's going to take dedication. You're going to spend some time and money. And if you're not really in it to grow your business and you're just looking to get a client or two here, a couple quick hacks, I'm not for you. And like I said that, and I know there were a couple of people who did not buy because of that. And I thought about it later. It's like, so part of me is like, well, shit, if I didn't say that, maybe they would have bought. But the reality is they would have bought maybe, but then very quickly would have become that negative Yelp review.
Been dissatisfied because you sold me something that wasn't real. And I think that's a great way, because not only is it's a good technique, it's also just honesty, right? If you're this,
it wasn't a technique, it was the honest truth. Yeah.
The guy at Botto Bistro has a big chalkboard. The guy who wanted 1-star reviews, and they're just not, it's very much like you were talking about. They don't have table service. You order at the counter. There's no place to eat there. It's just takeout. But they also it's in California. They also don't do a lot of the things. So I don't know if you've ever been introduced to people who want to dip their pizza in ranch dressing, but that's a huge thing out there. So he just has this chalkboard. It says no ice, no oil, no free bread, no ranch. And then it even says at the bottom, Costco is one exit down. They have a 20-inch pizza for $8.99, and they have tons of ranch. So he not only says we don't, he's like, they do, and go ahead, right? Go ahead if that's what you're looking for. I'm not that, and I'm okay with that. I'm selling you something that's different, but it's authentic Italian pizza. It's not what you think pizza is. And so that's, again, an educational thing. If you're interested in having an experience that you're not used to, this is the place. If you want that thing you became familiar with Tombstone pizzas from your freezer, go down the street and work with them. And so I love that, even just that attitude, again, of unapologetic, unashamed. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. This is who we're for. This is who we might even be against. That's a powerful way, because think about the kind of business you have to have if you try to be for everyone. Your life is just going to be miserable as you try the impossible task of pleasing everyone and making everyone happy, even when they have unrealistic demands of you, versus the power that comes from, that's not really us. And if that's not for you, I also have a good enough program from Robin for marketing where I can find the right customers, so I don't need to be subservient to the wrong kind of customers and have them ruin my life.
Exactly. So tell me what else what's this Amplify thing that you've been working? Is that the thing you were working on with some of our members? I know I got in an email like loop. I don't know, maybe it wasn't that, but you're doing
I've been working on, I started it during the pandemic because, you couldn't do professional speaking during the pandemic. And so, until people started going virtual and that kind of stuff. But there was kind of a lull for about 3 to 6 months where people weren't ready to go virtual, but they also couldn't legally have their events or whatever in certain places. So I started working on an assessment. So it's basically a freak factor assessment where you can see how your strengths and weaknesses are related. And then it shows you how to amplify that quality, shows you how to find the right fit, find that alignment. It shows you how to stay away from situations that don't fit, and how to partner with people who are strong where you're weak. So it just takes the freak factor concept and operationalizes it for people. So they go, okay, well, that sounds cool, but how does this affect me? And you say, okay, you're persistent, but you're stubborn. People are going to tell you to be less stubborn. I'm going to tell you to be more persistent. People are going to tell you there's something wrong with you. I'm telling you that it's awesome. You're a relentless persister. Here's 2 pages that tells you why that's awesome, how to turn up the volume, how to find the right fit, how to stay away from situations that don't fit, and how to partner with people who are going to be the opposite of you and would be great partners because their flexibility and willingness to take different directions when combined with your persistence is going to make you even stronger. And so the assessment just takes those results. Basically, it's a personality test where it shows you how your strengths and weaknesses are related and then gives you advice on what to do with it. So it just takes the book and the concept of your particular strengths and weaknesses and puts them together. Whereas formerly we'd do this quick assessment where people pick their strengths and their weaknesses, and then it would show you how persistence and stubbornness were connected. And then there's the book. And if you want to try to but as you know, some people will do that and other people will be like, that's a lot and I don't even know, and I've got other things to do. So what this does is it just takes all that information, it puts it together. So it just says, here's the 3 or 4 defining features you have. Here's situations to move towards. Here's situations to move away from. Here's people to partner with. And the amplify piece, that's why we call it that, is really key. It's like people say you're too messy. Maybe you're not messy enough. Turn up the volume, start breaking things, start smashing things, start ripping things, start tearing things. And again, some people might immediately go, oh, that sounds ridiculous. And then what do they have now? They have those like riot rooms that they sell where you can go to these places and just destroy things. There's actually a business that's built around people's desire to just blow shit up, right? And so it sounds even a little ridiculous when I was writing it, but it doesn't sound ridiculous to people who've lived their life that way and who need somebody to tell them, you know what, don't be more organized, don't Marie Kondo your life. Just get messier and see what happens once you give yourself permission. You used that word earlier, and I love that. Give yourself permission to be messy and see where that takes you when you're not constantly fighting it. And when you are organized, Marie Kondo the shit out of everything. They drill it down. Be a minimalist. So it doesn't tell anybody to stop being them. It's just go to your corner and be comfortable with that. Don't feel like you have to come to the middle and dial it back.
Yeah. Are there really Mike, maybe we should do that for the next Producers Club meeting. It's coming up next week. Is there
I like it. I don't know in Nashville. I mean, closest I think we have is axe throwing, but we can probably get like Jeff Johnson's car and demo it.
No, but it's like a room, like you can go into like a pristine,
there's like TVs and like
a pristine like British dining room, like all the crystal and the doilies and the tablecloths and the candelabras, and they give you some glasses and they give you a helmet and they give you a vest, and you just go in there with sledgehammers and crowbars and metal baseball bats, and you just absolutely.
I'm trying to Google it. What would I Google? Demo?
I think they're usually called riot rooms, is I think what they're called.
There's Smash City Rage Room Experience.
Room, that's the word. I had the wrong R. Rage Room. Yeah, it's a rage room.
I didn't know that was a thing. Check it out.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. They actually tried that, Robin, for marriage counseling. So like I said, I studied counseling psychology. And so what they tried for a while is they thought when husbands and wives are mad at each other, that maybe if they could actually beat the crap out of each other safely, it would decrease their anger and allow them to move on. And so they would dress them up in these like big pads, like they use kind of like for dog training or for like fighting. And so a big padded helmet and big padded arms, and they would let them just wail on each other. And what they found is that anger isn't hydraulic. In other words, it doesn't go down when you express it, it actually goes up. So the more they hit each other with baseball bats and stuff, the more they started thinking this would be even better if the person wasn't wearing pads, right? And so they learned that that was not a good, but Rage Room, you're taking it out on something that cannot be hurt, and you're not damaging your relationship there. So.
I didn't know this is like, you know what, I'm telling you, if anyone listening to this is an MSP, you absolutely need to sponsor this and bring clients in and let them smash like what was it? It's not is it The Office? What's the name of that movie where they like
Office Space. Yeah, where they take it out on the printer.
Printer out, you just smash.
I love it. It's a themed. I think you have to do it. I think it's a themed MSP Rage Room where it's all the things, servers, computers, printers, all the things that destroy their lives.
And here's the thing, we go to all our sponsors that are like that have devices, and we tell them, if you don't want your shit in this room, you got to pay me $20,000.
It's the anti-sponsorship.
Extortion. I like it.
Anti-sponsorship. If you don't want your logo on things that people are beating the shit out of, you have to pay me money to keep it out of the room.
Yeah. Smash City Rage Room Nashville. Yep.
See? Holy, got an axe to grind. Yeah. Come smash some shit and get it out. I love that idea. Like, I know that's not what you were talking about, but now I'm all like, I'm thinking, like, immediately I'm thinking I totally could make money with this. Do you know what I mean? We could do this and if you're an MSP, like I would do this maybe once a month. You host this event where new customers can come in and smash all the computers and the printers or the whatever, like pissing them off, right?
That's way more fun than just bringing your old
what
printer.
We're talking about though. Does it say smash some shit right on their website?
It says, yes, smash. And here in Nashville, it's like smash City Rage Room. Try and say Smash City. Like
yeah. But I mean, even if you say shit on your website, you know you're antagonizing a certain population, and you're also there's some other people who are like, oh hell yeah, this is where I want to go, right? So that's a great example of it's pushing some people away, but it's pulling some people. And there's definitely people who would think that was wrong, inappropriate, all those kinds of things. And these people are building a whole business around it. I think it's fantastic.
No, great. We're totally going to do that. Okay, cool. All right. So
do it for all the road shows. It should be an activity on all the road shows. So Mike and I can just do it every time.
All right. You got it. Done. Okay. So I know we're like over time. We're like right on the hour.
Right
here,
on.
whatever. But so, all right. So very cool. So real quick, the Amplify test, do they go to amplifytest.com? Where do they go to check
amplifytest.com? We're still working on it. It functions. We're making some improvements to it. If people want to do it, yeah, go there, check it out. It has like a sample report and things like that. And if they want to take it, they can just contact me and we can get them some codes so they can get in there.
Okay. And then one quick question that Paul Tracy wanted to know, what was your favorite Muppet and why?
I think my favorite Muppets were the two old guys who made fun of everything. Yes. Right? Because like that's me at anything. Even my kids, you'd think, the kids would be okay with you being immature, but like my kids are more mature than me. So like we were going around touring my daughter's new school, right? And we're going from classroom to classroom, and I'm making fun of what the teachers look like and making comments about the room, and I'm whispering. And my daughter's like, Dad, be appropriate, grow up, like stop whispering, we can hear you. So I think those are my favorite Muppets. They're commenting on everything and being inappropriate and critical and judgmental and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, Dave, and I know you've got to go, but I'll share a quick story. So like after you spoke,
is Mike on this call? Is that Mike?
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm Mike. So anyways, after you spoke, whatever, last July or so.
Mike's trying to talk and then Robin's going straight on the bottle. Sorry, Mike. What were you saying, Mike?
Yeah. I hate to be nice, but I'm trying to. But anyways, after you spoke at Producers Club, we had a member of the team, and he said he's always been described as like a utility player. Like he knows a lot about a lot of things, but he's always thought it was a weakness. He's like, I'm not the best at SEO or best at Facebook or this or that. And he's like, hey, maybe that's actually my strength. And then I mean, it's like 6 months later, we lost him from my team, but he went over to run our Done For You digital division because he's like, I can actually manage a bunch of specialists because I know a lot about these 5 areas. I don't know everything about any one, and then really flourish with that. And they love working with him because he knows it all. So like that was a big thing. I mean, we've heard from dozens of members where it was just a big aha, but like that your biggest weakness can be your biggest strength. And so it does mean a lot to people and really resonates with a lot.
So that's a perfect example. And I think that person actually talked to me when I was leaving boot camp last time, but that's actually, there's 40 profiles in the Amplify tool, but there's 41. And the 41st is if somebody doesn't really hit on, I'm not really a lot of that or a lot of this or I don't really have a lot of big weaknesses and strengths, then they're what I call a versatile generalist, right? And they get that report, right? You're a jack of all trades, master of none. And people are going to tell you that's bad, but here's how it's good, right? And here are situations where being a jack of all trades can be really advantageous. Look for situations, and you just described it, where knowing a little bit about a lot of different things is actually valuable. And that's even perfect. That also is affiliation. You partner with people who are strong where you're weak. So now this person is managing specialists. I know the big picture and how all these things fit together. And now I work with these people who go deep on these different things. And that's the perfect combination, right? And so that's what we're talking about, is not only do you turn up the volume on who you are and find the right fit, but then you partner with people who are complementary. And the problem is those people are usually so different from us, it causes conflict. So we often fight those people instead of connecting with those people. And that's a perfect story of how it works in real life. I love that.
Yeah. And after I took the test, I think it told me I know nothing about a lot of things. So that was really close to his. Yeah. So
that's very Zen. That's very Zen. You're keeping it open. Yeah. You're ready for something new. There's nothing really in there. That's openness, right? So open-minded, stuff can't stay.
I'm just here with my peach wine. Yep. Yeah. My bathtub wine.
I think the peach wine probably burned some of it out. There's probably a little bit of a, destructive capacity there.
Okay, so amplify, and kids can take that. I'm curious, like I might get my kids to take that. That'd be cool. So
well, there's if right now too, if people go just to drendall.com, there's the kids book is a free video on YouTube. And then there is a kids version of the assessment where they can pick their strengths and weaknesses. And it's designed specially for kids where they can pick their strengths and weaknesses and see how they're connected.
Cool.
But that will be a version of Amplify in the future. 13, 14-year-old could probably take Amplify. If they're younger than that, go to drendall.com, and there's a simple free PDF there where they can just download it. And we've done that activity at events and stuff like that. And it really resonates even with young kids.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Funny story about my kids. Like, so this is pre-pandemic. They allow the parents to come in and have lunch with your kid. Right. So, I show up and I'm in the cafeteria before they allow them in. I got there a little early and I'm sitting there waiting for Jamie to come in. And what was really funny is she's got her tray, right? And she walks into the lunchroom and she sees me and she totally sits down at 2 tables away from me. Right. So I'm like, okay, it's on, right? So I just ignore her and I start making friends with all her friends. And we are having, like, I brought, they're not supposed to have candy. I brought all kinds of candy and candy bars in my purse. And I'm like a drug dealer. I'm giving it to the kids and we're all laughing. And my daughter is dying of we're getting yelled at by the lunch lady. It was great. So.
Yeah, I showed up at lunch with pizza one time. I was invited. And I sat down by my daughter and her friends. And it went so well. She said, Dad, they loved you. They want you to come back all the time. And I wanted to brag about it on Facebook, but there was no way to do it, right? Teenage girls love me. I'm a real hit with teenage girls. I get along really well with preteen girls.
Yeah, leave that one alone.
There was no good way to communicate that. So it was a proud dad moment, but no way to kind of share it with the world without sounding very, very, very bad.
That'd be weird. Yeah, good choice. All right. Look, I saved a little bit, one last little swig here in the glass so I could be professional or something. Who cares, right? But it was a great interview, Dave. I love having you around. You're phenomenal. Our members love you. And I mean that sincerely. I know we're joking and stuff like that, but I do appreciate you, and cheers to you and to you, Mike, with your peach wine.
Yes.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. So that's it. Now I got to go open another bottle. Very cool. All right.
Perfect. You got a head start. You're pre-gaming for Friday night.
I'm just getting warmed up. All right. I appreciate you guys. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you hit subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment, and make sure you come to one of our
one-star review. One-star review, please.
One-star reviews.
Keep it low.
Keep it low. Very cool. All right. Appreciate everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
See you later. Good Friday.